proposal. As you know, the mayor a few months ago proposed department consolidation, merging Department of Neighborhood Empowerment and the Community Development Department. I could go into some of the reasons of that, but I think that we're at a different place now. In committee yesterday, I mentioned that in Education and Neighborhoods Committee, I mentioned that since the mayor's proposal, there's been a lot of outpouring of comments about such a proposal, and it became very clear that there needs to be a lot more discussion, more robust discussion about done and about neighborhood empowerment in the city and kind of what the next steps are. We're 10 years into this system that was created with the new charter, and it's clear that while we are at a stage where we need to figure out what the next stage is, there needs to be a larger discussion and a bigger group of people discussing how that happens. The charter section that the mayor invokes to put this proposal out, which is Charter Section 513, has a very specific time limit of 45 days. And those 45 days, as I said, is clearly not enough time to get the discussion that we need to have to be able to create whatever is coming to give the support to neighborhood councils that's needed. Also, to give the support that's needed in a time of financial crisis for the city, for the region, for the nation. So at the mayor's office request, the Education and Neighborhoods Committee put a recommendation together to reject the mayor's proposal. It'll probably go to City Council next week, which will take the 45-day clock. We'll shut the 45-day clock down, so we're not stuck with that and have to have a decision. The charter section says that after 45 days, if no action is taken by council, then the merger stands, and that's inappropriate to have that kind of a deadline. And so, what we'd like to do at this point, after council approves this friendly rejection, is to go out to the public, and as Mr. Schaefer mentioned, go out to neighborhood councils and go out to alliances like this one and Bank and the RAC, the East Side Alliance, and Hank, thank you, down in the harbor, and any number of other ones. We may create ones. We may have Councilman Krikorian may have education and neighborhood committee meetings out in the public, but just a number of discussions with people like yourselves, with other stakeholders, to figure out what needs to be done, what sort of problems have arisen in the first 10 years of neighborhood empowerment in the city, and how we can address those issues and how we can best serve neighborhood empowerment needs within the city.
So that they've got a background before Larry starts. Robert, could you talk about, Paul Krikorian yesterday talked about CDD doing an RFP with regards to some of the nonprofits and as to what they could do and how they can help. Could you explain what it is your department's going to be looking for and the type of RFP you're going to put out? And then we could move over to Larry so he can talk about how all of these things are being looked at on a broad overview in the mayor's office.
Okay, before we do that, did it go before her license committee? Because that was the last thing I heard.
Right.
I knew.
Right. The mayor's proposal was referred to two committees, to both Education and Neighborhoods and the Housing Community Economic Development Committee. It has not gone to Mr. Wesson's committee, but my understanding is that Mr. Wesson is going to waive it from this committee, so it can go to council before the deadline is.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Smile, guys. It's a beautiful Saturday morning out there, you know. And, so, all of a sudden, you know,
Kind of amazing the number of volunteers that show up on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, and that's great. First of all, I just want to say thank you for inviting me here. And I really want to thank you really for the service and the volunteer work that you all do on behalf of the city. I've been in the city for a number of years and have worked with the Community Development Department running community programs for a number of years, and primarily with community-based organizations that we work with. So I do know what it takes to be on a Saturday morning doing cleanups, and Saturday morning doing youth programs, and Saturday morning sitting in meetings like this. So thank you for being here as well. Let me take you back just a few months. And my good friend here, Larry, called me and said one Saturday morning, actually, hey, there's this proposal coming through, and what do you think? And the proposal about the Dunn CDD integration, and what were some of the ideas? And to be honest with you, I really did not know, and I still don't know the full extent of the 10 years of history and work and the hard dedication that many of you have given over the last 10 years. But I do know the city infrastructure, and I tell folks, you know, I sit in the valley of the beast of the bureaucracy. So I'm the big bad CDD that you guys all talk about at times. But I do want to put a face to it, and why we in CDD and the work that we do. And we run approximately a couple $100 million of various funding programs, from loans and grants to bonds, and is working with about 200 agencies. And we do everything from workforce development to summer youth programs. Dan and Ava over here is a veteran of CDD, can give you all the details of all we do. But we really do transform communities and lives of the individuals that we work with. So coming back to the merger concept, one thing that I did go back and start looking at some of the audit reports and started just talking to people about the different needs. And one thing that came very, very transparent and apparent to me was that the funding program in its current state was not working. And what I do just put out is that regardless of what happens, if the CBD done one merger proposal goes forward in its current state, the funding program has to be addressed. If Dunn stays as a standalone department, if it's merged with us, or if it's merged with another department, the funding program and the system itself needs to be revamped. And I say that from a personal perspective of spending, you know, the past 13 or 15 years within the city government here, and knowing the bureaucracy and how it runs. There's great people at Dunn, as it is around the city, and the infrastructure of how it's set up is not set up to work for you all. And I think it works for some better than others, but I think it's very, very apparent that it currently doesn't work. So the proposal that I put out, and when Larry asked, you know, what's your best professional experience, based on your experience and perspective of what can be done, the concept that I put out there, and I'll take ownership of the concept, was to use our nonprofit system, which knows how to move money from the city. They actually know the city bureaucracy, they know the infrastructure, they're stable, and many of these nonprofits, or all these nonprofits, are serving your communities, because that's who we fund, the city nonprofits. And if we could develop a linkage between the nonprofit community that currently is under contract to us and to you all, and make it simple, and then this is the real goal, is to make the transactions simple from the neighborhood council perspective, and let us deal with the professional nonprofit staff to actually move the money. So the RFP that we put out there, or the concept, we have not put it, let me state that clearly, we have not put out an RFP. What I did is put out a draft RFP concept paper that we put it out for feedback, and that was the reason why we put it out. So there's no, in my perspective, if it takes 30 days, it takes 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, it's all to the benefit of us, for us to take the time to do it right. When they were talking about a July 1 start date of doing this, that became a very, very big rush. But since that has been taken away, we don't have to really rush as we had before. So it's a concept paper out there. We're welcoming the feedback. The proposal very specifically is asking our nonprofit community, who are currently in good standing with the city, good standing with the federal government, good standing with the state. So we're not asking for fly-by-night nonprofits. We're talking about nonprofits that you know and many of you support, and probably on some of their